You can watch a million YouTube videos, but if you're not the one whose credit card is on the line month to month, you will not learn the lessons and you will not figure it out, honestly. In this video, we want to share with you mistakes we've noticed ourselves and other real estate investors make while investing in real estate and help you avoid those same mistakes.
Yeah, tell me about the first property you bought. Any mistakes found?
Yeah, the first one actually was relatively successful, which kind of inflated my confidence. But when I walked up the first day, there was weeds like 8 feet tall and just a whole bunch of work we had to do. We had to gut the bathroom, which we did over time. But I put in 2 roommates who went to college with me. And between the 2 of them, I actually was making money every month, which I was like, boom, I made it. I'm cash flowing on my primary residence. And I thought I was the GOAT immediately.
So no mistakes made?
Oh, there's been mistakes. The first actual investment property, we still, might have to sell it because it's been a troublesome one.
Thinking back to the first property that I bought was also a primary. I had the same thought to go the house hack direction, but I was not brave enough to go to Irvington or anywhere downtown. I wanted to live in the burbs. So when I moved in, there was this moment like, do I get roommates? Fiance was already living with me in an apartment. She wanted to move in, 1,100 square foot house. She's like, yeah, absolutely no. I'm like, all right, well then you're paying, rent, literally put her on a lease to pay rent. Also went in, we were buying in 2020, which is a terrible time to buy a house, right? We walked probably 15 houses, wrote offers on every single one, couldn't find anything. Ultimately, we had to go off market, found what I would call the traditional like grandma's home, hasn't been updated since 1960. Purchased it for way above market value, off market, and then went in and put 40 to 60K off rip into it so that it was that cosmetic level that we were looking for. But yeah, we just sold it for 120K in equity.
Not bad. But I think what people can gain from that is both of our first investments were our own homes.
Yeah.
And neither of them were like super amazing highfalutin homes. They needed updating.
Yeah.
Like I was doing the painting, I was doing the landscape, I was doing the work. I didn't have a bunch of cash sitting in a bank account that I could all of a sudden deploy into the property.
Yeah, absolutely. I did all sweat equity into mine. There was not a single contractor. I even rewired the entire house myself, which is like super scary, but it passed inspection. So
that's pretty impressive. I haven't touched electrical at all. Probably electrocute myself. So tell me about the first investment property, actual investment. You never lived in it.
Yeah, that one, I think there's a difference between when you have control and you're living inside of the home, right? You know when things are going to go wrong. You can predict it because you see it every day. My first investment property, it's like you buy this asset. Both units were occupied going into it. Immediately had to evict a tenant because they hadn't paid in like 6 months whenever I looked at the rent rolls. So, off to a great start there. Ended up placing tenants in that the tenant got arrested 3 months in. The police knocked all the windows out and knocked the doors down to get to him.
So was this like a Class C neighborhood, kind of a rougher part of town? Or?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. But it was one of those things where I was so excited to invest that the opportunity came off market and I'm like, I got to buy. I have cash sitting around and I have to
and I'm sure the spreadsheet looked good.
Yeah, absolutely. It still does look great. But phone calls and managing the manager on that one has not been fun.
What would you do differently?
Wait and buy something that is more aligned with my end goal. So that was the overarching theme of that entire property is, does this even fit in with what I want to do in investing?
The buy box.
Yeah.
You have to have a clear, well-defined buy box.
Right. But the excitement got me into the market. Yeah. Tell me about your second property.
Yeah. So I actually sold that first home for $200,000 exactly. I paid $118,000 and the mortgage about $100,000 was owed. So I walked out of the title company with $100K and I thought, damn, I just made it. I'm rich, literally, because I was on a $40,000 teacher salary.
I was going to say, it's like 2 years of pay.
Yeah, I didn't go buy the nice fancy car or go fly to Malibu or whatever. I actually bought an investment property. I was impatient, and we searched for 2 weeks, and I was like, 2 weeks is too long. I want to be a real estate investor. I just got my license, so I'm like, let's go. Let's write my first offer. Let's do the thing. And we got into a property again in a Class C neighborhood that was up and coming in the line of development, but that street wasn't good. I remember there was like glass shreds on the street from like broken beer bottles and stuff like that. And that should have been my first warning sign of like, maybe this is not the safest first investment. But kind of like learned while doing it and bought it. And immediately, again, another mistake was I outsourced all the work to someone else. I was not at the property that much. I didn't manage it myself. I brought on a third-party manager, and they actually placed tenants in. So I'm like, okay, this is going good. And we placed eventually tenants in all the units except one. Why not all of them? Because we had to claim one as a primary residence. My partner claimed it as his primary residence, which allowed us to get in the deal for less money and have a lower interest rate because owner-occupant loans have better terms. But all that aside, one of the first tenants we placed 8 months into his lease. So 8 months, we're like, cool, he's paying, he's good. This is a $600 unit. Well, we started noticing he's putting all the payments on his credit card. First red flag. And then kept doing it, and turns out like he didn't have the money. He was putting all the payments on his credit card. We found out he actually went to jail while on a lease, and he had a dog that was living there. The dog just pooped everywhere, and this guy, eventually we had to threaten to evict him. We didn't evict him because he eventually woke up, smelled the coffee, and realized like he needed to get out of there. But he left the place in shambles, and that unit cost me well over $5,000, probably $10,000 to fix up just to get it rentable. He was making $600 a month. So what's my return on investment there? It's like negative 200% to that unit.
Wow. So from learning that, there's a lot of lessons to unpack in that. How'd you correct it?
We're still correcting it. One is I started placing tenants myself. So I leased it myself. I personally interviewed the tenant who I placed there. I trust her. I know what her job is. I looked at her pay stubs, and I looked her in the eye and was like, hey, this is what happened to me last time I rented this out. Is this going to happen again? And I believed her when she said no. So far, it's been good. She's 4 months in. She's paid every month. She's paid late a couple times, and so she is a lower income, more variable, lifestyle, you could call it. But I think being more hands-on with the first investment, because it is something you're going to learn from. It's not something you're going to get rich from. Right. It's a learning experience, and that's where all the ROI comes from. So I would say that's what I've learned the most.
Yeah, so through that experience, you now can even get to a place where you can have a property manager in the middle, but you know how to vet through the property manager the tenant.
You manage the property manager.
Yeah,
so that's what I do now.
There's no reason that when placing a tenant, you shouldn't be looking through the histories and have the credit score that you want to hit in place and have all of the criteria lined out to pick your perfect tenant. But the only way that you know that is because you learn through past history of what a terrible tenant looks like.
Well, the other mistake we made was I wouldn't have lived in the unit. And the first truism they say to investors is, would you actually buy this property and live in it? Would you live there? And if it's not, well, what kind of person is going to live there? Someone not like you, someone with worse financial background and just a worse track record in general. Well, that will prove to be true. So I had to update the property immensely, put more money, more capital, more work into it just to get it to a standard where I'm like, I would consider living here in this property. So if I redid it again, I would save more money and I would buy a property that I would actually live in myself.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And there's hard lessons learned. I love buying real estate because of that. I love being a realtor because of that. Every transaction I enter into, I walk away and I'm like, in my journal, here's what I just learned about, for the next transaction. There's not been like one in the last 70 transactions that I haven't had a lesson, or in my own purchases that I haven't had like, oh yeah, don't do that. Don't repeat that mistake. So that's really awesome.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned through other people? What is the mistake you've seen made the most while being a realtor for
Yeah.
investors?
Not knowing the difference between a good street and a bad street. So as the realtor, I try my hardest to guide people. We have maps set up, all of this packed in for education, because a lot of times it's an out-of-state investor that's not here. The way that I frame it is how comfortable I would be walking on the street without a dog, if I need a dog on the street, or if I don't even want my dog to walk on the street. And in that comparison, there's just like a clear, vivid picture of, yeah, 123 Main Street might look nice on the spreadsheet, but dude, I don't even want to get out of my car to take the video for you. Like, you should not buy this 100K property. You should actually pivot to go to this other direction. And the number one mistake is that I see consistently is like, no, the spreadsheet's great. Let's write an offer. And they wind up buying it. 6 months goes by and it might be, oh, a water heater just exploded in the basement, or water lines are going bad, or the tenant's not paying, or the police are breaking down the door, right? Like, transparently, the property that I own, I don't want to walk down that street, but the spreadsheet looks so good, so I hopped into it. And I think just there's an art of patience in real estate investing, and that's been the number one lesson. Number one, there's abundance, and number two, there's patience, and that's where you can see a true win.
Mm-hmm. I think the inverse is also true, which is not paying attention to the spreadsheet. I had an investor that bought a property or lived in a property in Hamilton County. She moved out. She was like, this is going to be an amazing investment property. It's in Hamilton County, which is probably the highest median price of home in the state in Hamilton County. Really nice area that is very desirable. Well, she, I don't think, did model out what is this actually going to make and what are all of my expenses. Her property taxes went up, which was in line with the value of her home.
Yeah.
And they washed out all of her cash flow profit. Her property taxes went up to like $8,000 a year, which was expected. I could have looked at that and been like, your property taxes will become $8,000 as the assessor comes and reassesses. And now she's like, should I even keep the property? And I think no, because her return on her equity of what she has in the home, she has a lot of equity in the home, but her month to month, she makes almost nothing because she's just paying property taxes on it.
Right. I love the fact that we both still make mistakes in our own investments, but we do repeated transactions with people. We build these relationships with the investors, hear their wins and losses, but yet we still have walked into our own investments and stubbed our toe a couple times.
You have to learn it for yourself.
Yeah.
You can watch a million YouTube videos, but if you're not the one whose credit card is on the line month to month, you will not learn the lessons and you will not figure it out, honestly.
Yeah, I think the biggest step for somebody to take walking into investment this year is getting educated on how to run the numbers, how to build a team, how to look at an inspection report, how to find a good street. There's so much educational curve and free consultation that we do every single day because you get hyped up on Bigger Pockets, which talks about how to invest and how to move the needle of the future, but it doesn't talk market specific. And I mean, there is a solution that can be provided to bring knowledge. And I think having that knowledge is so powerful walking into it, but always walking eyes wide open because you're gonna run into problems and it's just how you navigate them.
And that's what we're trying to do is distill all the lessons we've learned from hundreds of investors, deals we've done either in the driver's seat as investors of real estate or as the realtor and distill that into a course.
Yeah.
And make it available so people can learn from the mistakes that we've seen others make. And moreover, make a really good investment the first time you ever invest in real estate, which is a really hard thing to do.
It's difficult, but it's not impossible. There's so many different ways to go about real estate investing. But I think number one, to the wealthiest people in the world, it's they own real estate and they have advisors moving them closer to buying the next property. So, packaging up this course is something that I've been super thrilled about because we can do that advisory role without actually having to be on the phone, right? It's something that's evergreen. People can come back to and learn how to invest. So if you're interested in investing in 2024, this course is going to 100% get you that much closer to buying your first, next, third, fifth, whatever property with less mistakes, with less problems, and being more educated on at least the Indy market specifically.
Some of the stuff that we've included in this course is One, how to build a team, how to pick an investor-minded agent. Two, how to qualify for financing, how to get mortgage ready. What are the mortgage options even?
Yeah.
Should I have an LLC? Should I do it in my personal name? Three, picking a submarket. What area of town, if you're local in our market to Indianapolis, or just what market in the nation as a whole, what city to double down on in general. And then what exit strategy? Are you going to do a long-term rental, short-term rental, maybe flip, maybe the BRRRR strategy, right? Buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. What out of the smorgasbord of a million options should I do, and how to do it well is really why we made this course.
If this is you and you're ready to take the next step, check the link down below.
We'll even have a discount code because you watched this video. So click the link below. Let's get started. Let's do this together and
Let's buy your first property.